Good morning. This is Cheryl. Welcome to Porch Talk. Happy June. Today is June 1st. Wow, half the year's flown by. Amazing. Before I start, I would love for you to subscribe, share, and leave a comment for me. I would really enjoy hearing from you. I thought that I would start something kind of new, and that is I told you I carry around affirmation cards all the time, and I thought I would share a few before we get started. Just it's kind of how I start my day. So, the first one is starting the day off with a positive thought can change my entire mindset. So, that is that one. I love it. And then today I choose to be happy. You all know if you listen to my porch talk, that choice in choosing where your day is going to go, where your life is going to go, choice is a huge, huge thing for me personally, but it should be for other people because when you realize you have a choice, it empowers you. So, my last one is I have the power to create the life that I want. And this is very true. A lot of people feel like life happens to them, and not for them. But today I thought that I would like to do a talk on um, are you still learning? Are you still, and also ways to help you as you um, mature, as you mature, um, how to keep your mind young, how to keep your mind sharp, because this happens as we get older. A lot of people start to lose train of thought and things like that. And I think there are some things that actually do cause this, and I'd like to share that with you. And I'll give you glasses are too close. Um, but I can give you some hints or just let you know what I do, you know. Um, but I feel but I feel like learning is a huge part of it should be for every human. It really should be. Children learn. Hopefully when you become a young adult you're learning, and you're not just learning through your mistakes, but you're seeking knowledge. You're also seeking, God to help you to learn as you go. And but knowledge can also be dangerous, depending on where you get your knowledge from. Are you depending on somebody who uh, has had, things happen to them and it's kind of tainted what they pass on to you? I really feel like going directly to the source and praying is a big, big thing. You have to be careful on where you obtain your knowledge from. That's for sure. But knowledge also, um, a lot of people don't like to learn because they want other people to do it for them. We live in a world of convenience, and unfortunately, I think it makes our minds lazy to actually go out there and do your own research, pray, listen, instead what we do is we take the easy button out, and you just ignore. Something comes along, you just ignore it, you push it to the side, and this is kind of a trick that I think holds a lot of people back from advancing forward in their lives. Because when you don't know, you don't know. And the old saying, ignorance is bliss. So you can, in a funny sort of way, pardon me, absolve yourself from the results, pardon me, the results of what might happen because you just didn't know. Um, so I feel a lot of people. Hold on, I'm going to go get my water and I'll be right back. Thank you so much. So, yeah, so back to ignorance is bliss. So I try not to ever let myself be in that position, but I'm just a human being and I learn every day, but I seek knowledge. I'm one of those people. I love to know, to know what's going on. And I do a lot of study. I do a lot of study on nutrition. I do a lot of study on peptides. I do study, oh my goodness, on jewelry making. I can't tell you how many years I've spent on YouTube, and I will continue because there's always something new to learn. And knowledge is its power, and it can be good power and it can be bad power. But most of the time, um, again, ignorance is not bliss. When you know, you know. And so part of the deal is so I can tell you something about a subject or a fact or a matter. And um, once I tell you that, hopefully you'll do your own research and don't believe me and find out for yourself if that's true or not. But then you can't unknow what you know. And once you know it, it kind of holds you to a certain point responsible for how you respond or how you deal with something the next time, right? A lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to do it. They let life pass through them and want to claim as little responsibility as possible. So I challenge you, sometimes researching subjects, sometimes knowing something that's uncomfortable, something that might require you to do some work, um, is tough, and a lot of people avoid that because they don't want to change. They just want to, do their thing, and just go, oh well, that happened. But that's part of. I think that's a big part of keeping your mind and your headspace straight. As you age, is knowledge and not just going on autopilot once you get older, because if you do that, you're playing this game that says, I'm going to do what I've done and I'm going to get what I got. So, I mean, unless you live some kind of enchanted life, I'd like to know where you are and how you did it. I'm always seeking knowledge. Um, I watch a lot of spiritual stuff. This morning I was watching Stoicism. Wow, what big knowledge, huge, just something that I just can sit and listen to for hours and hours, because it deals with the psyche of people and how things come into your life and how you handle it, and but the only way that you can find those things out is through knowledge. And today we live in a world where knowledge is right here at our fingertips, right here. And keyboard, you can read a book, you can look it up on the internet. My goodness, there's no reason for people to be living in their ignorance. There really isn't. Life is busy. I know ish goes on, if you know what I'm talking about. But take the time. Take the time to feed your mind. And as long as you're feeding your mind is going to continue to, expand. And you're going to continue to be a thinker and not just a person who's reacting to what's going on in life. I think that's super important. And some other things that I think that will help your mind stay sharp is what your nutrition. I really think that nutrition has a huge amount to do with brain fog, with other things that are physiology, going on behind the scenes. Because if you are eating thing that's eating foods and foods with a lot of glyphosate on it, or additives, or all the stuff that's being sprayed on our food, I really believe that it taints it taints our brains. It makes our brains shrink, and it makes our brains, it does not keep your brain supple and doing all the stuff you got to do. It's like the saying that fat is bad. That is not true. Your brain is 70% fat. And if you've been put on a statin, and I'm not challenging what doctors do, but if you've been put on a statin, that's a blocker for fat, which it's your brain. And so when you do that, you're creating you're creating a deficit in your body, in your brain matter. And how can you recover from that? And I've noticed this. I've noticed it from my medical experience that um, people who are on blockers, cholesterol, medicine, stuff like that, I notice that they seem to develop forms of dementia very, very quickly. And um, yeah, so I mean, I encourage people to eat good fats and, um, I use real butter. I put butter in my coffee, in my mushroom coffee. I cook in butter. I use olive oil. I use coconut oil. I don't do any seed oils because that promotes inflammation in the body, and which inflammation in your brain and in your body, it's called, um, what do they call it? Age-flammation. So it just causes your body to react in a negative sort of way. So I think nutrition, along balanced with, exercise, getting outside and grounding with nature and praying, while you're sitting out there and just taking in all of the goodness of life, instead of waking up and thinking, oh my God, it's another day. How am I going to get through this? What am I going to do? Today, I choose to be happy. Make that choice. Super important. And, it's, uh, I think a lot of life has to do with your headspace and what you allow in your mind. And as we get older, are you mature? I hate to use the word older. Ew. But as you get older, there's a lot of fear that can come up. It can come up with things that are going on in the world. It can come up with, just life changing, your pace of life changing. Um, but, the unknown, and also having a past um, that you haven't addressed, and, realize that we only have a finite amount of time on this earth, and it's super important, hopefully before come to retirement, or, you mature, even when you're younger, to deal with things properly. I know people who are struggling right now, but they're struggling in a good way. They're reading the Bible, they're praying, they're seeking God's counsel, and they're young, and I find that so refreshing, because a lot of times, you go on, life gets busy, you got kids, you got family, and then you got grandkids, and you got all of this stuff going on that is a diversion away from you dealing with your own life. And I feel like happiness, I'm not going to say in the end, but happiness as we mature comes from resolution of things that we've done in the past, and realizing that you are not what you did yesterday, that you are what you're creating for yourself today. Um, we can close the book of the past. Yes, you might have to go back, ask for forgiveness, seek the counsel of God, and say, look, I've done these things. This is, I'm ashamed and I'm afraid, and, because it definitely causes you to be separated from God and the goodness of God. And you got to seek that forgiveness, and face the issues that you have to deal with. Clear your mind. Don't let life consume you. It'll only consume you if you let that happen. So deal with issues. If you have time, you're a retired person like me, I've spent a lot of time thinking about things that I've done, and I could think of each individual thing, I would be exhausted. But you know what I did? I just said, Lord, I am not what I was yesterday. Please help me become what you want me to be today and forevermore. And that just, I had to pray that a couple times because my monkey mind said, "Oh, what are you talking about? You've done all these things. You're dirty in the eyes of God." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm a sinner, or I'm a human just like everyone else. And if it wasn't, think about if we come to Earth and we all have the same experience. What's the point? What is the point? And there is no point. Then we are robots. So we are all challenged and put here on Earth to live individual experiences, and we have journeys, and we have things that I think the Lord and the universe put us here for to to do. It's like I am a creator. Look, I am an artist. I create jewelry. I create my own medicine. I create so many things. I create this for you because God has been talking to me for a while about doing this, and I've put it off because I just don't feel like I was emotionally ready to do it. But I've come to a point to where I can't wait for everything to be perfect. And I am emotionally ready and physically ready to do this. And I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I don't plan a talk. I listen to things, and I pray. I read some of my cards, and I have silence. And I remain silent with God, and I let God talk to me. And a subject will pop up in my head. Sometimes two or three. It's hard. It's hard sometimes to pick. But I really feel like getting your house in order with spiritually will help keep your mind strong. Because swimming and simmering or choking on the dust of your own regrets, it can hurt your heart, it can hurt your mind. And I don't think that doing that, is the good thing to do. So do the hard thing and confront yourself. My confrontation time was, at night when I was trying to sleep. And I had a hard time sleeping because the reel of my past was playing, and my shame was taking away my restful moments. When I would think about it, my anxiety would go up. I couldn't believe that I was that person, but it was certainly in the past. And I finally asked God to help me release that. And He did, because how I did it? Forgiveness, grace, and mercy. God gave that to me. And I've been able to put that sack of sorrow and darkness that I had to finally take it out to the dumpster, right? And instead of just putting it in the corner and just waiting for, stuff to happen. Nobody's going to take care of this. You are the one, the only one that's going to be able to, you'll either shove it in the darkness and it'll fester in you, and it'll eat you up inside, and it'll take away your joy. Or, you know what? You can be a human being and say, I'm ready to look at the lessons that I needed to learn from my past, and be honest with yourself. And soul searching is not fun. It is not fun. It's a necessary part of soul evolution, is what I call it. Not only the Christian journey, but a spiritual journey, or any other kind of journey. You need to evolve past just being in this basic plane of the world and becoming one of the robots in the world. Who wants that? I don't want to be like that. And so many people, I see them walking around and they just have a blank stare, and there's no joy and there's no happiness for whatever reason. I can't determine what people's problems are, the journeys that they've been on, but there's always hope. There's always hope, and there's always the love of God and the mercy and grace to blanket and cover those things if you're willing to face it and accept responsibility and then turn away not to do those things anymore. So it's kind of like if somebody says they're sorry and then the next day they're doing the same thing. Are they really sorry? So you can pray all you want. You can cry out to God and say, "Oh Lord, just get me through this. If you help me through this, I'll never do it again." And then a month later, you're doing the same thing. What? That's and I wonder how many times will God listen to us over and over and over again. I suppose God has an infinite amount of patience with each one of us, thank God. But after a while, I think, we just stop asking, help us through, And then you're wondering why things are happening over and over again. And they are because you haven't learned the lesson. You have to look at things that are repeating cycles in your life and take care of them. But as we get older, circle back to our subject about how to keep your mind sharp, and I really think that unburdening your heart and your soul of those things and knowledge, and health are super important. I see people, especially with their diets, and it's just like eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow I shall die. And so do you want to die in pain? Do you want to die losing your mobility? Do you want to die not being able to walk and be a productive person? Do you want to die somebody who's got Alzheimer's? I've taken care of Alzheimer's people. It's really sad. It's horrific what you can see. And I consider it a gift from God that I was able to contribute to for them crossing over. Let's just put it that way. I tried to provide as much love and caring as I could for these people, and it was my privilege, and it was my way of giving back to God, giving back to people, because these people are, once they get Alzheimer's, they're thrown away, and families don't know what to do. And it's such a painful situation when you watch the person that you love just slip away. Their body's there, but their mind goes. And then you just have to deal with, unfortunately, the cycle of how long does it take for their body to shut down. And I had an experience like that. It was, maybe I'll do a video on some of my experiences on end-of-life home care. But I consider that a privilege and something that I was willing to learn, and something that helped me realize that as I got older and I matured, that I had things I needed to deal with. I had things that I needed to get out of my closet. I had things that I needed to get in order and to clean my mind up. And not die, as John Rohn says, choking on the dust of my own regret. Don't do that. There's so much joy in this world. All you have to do is reach out and get it. It starts with your relationship with God. It really, truly does. And it starts too with exercise and nutrition. So important. If you stop using it, you're going to lose it. That's true. And I have a very good social network of friends who are, we go to bingo. Yeah, that's not really physical, but it's social interaction. So good for you. And I have, they go to the pool and they do aerobics. Then we do like a poker night, which is fun. And we go to church together, and they're a wonderful group of people that I haven't known for a long, long time, and I'm super blessed. I feel like them coming into my life, because I was not doing anything. I was exercising, and I was, I had my peptide business, but as far as getting out and socializing, I think that I cut myself off from the world for a long time, and because I was afraid. because I didn't want to deal with all the negativity in the world, because I had dealt with so much in my life. And it's just like when I met my friend down at the river. Do you know that I have only been down there by myself? I think that was the first time that I actually went and sat by myself and went to the park by myself, because I don't know why. I don't know why I robbed myself of those experiences. But I decided one day, it was a gorgeous spring day, and I said, Rusty, we're going to the park. And I forced myself. We just drove to the park, got out, took a little walk. Gorgeous, just lovely day. And then I remember I had eaten at a restaurant called Seagulls in St. Mary's, and I went down there, and I try to go once, maybe twice a week, where I just sit there and I take in all the beauty in the nature. And you see people walking by and their animals, and you can go for a walk in the park, and they have swings, and super peaceful. Can be meditation time, or just getting out, grounding with nature. Just such a beautiful thing. But don't rob yourself of, don't hide, don't rob yourself of socialization. Socialization is so important. It's so important, because loneliness, it can consume you. And when you don't feel worthy and you isolate yourself, you just don't want to deal with it. You don't want to get dressed to go out. It's worth the effort. It's worth the effort. And having some people your own age who are, maturing and going through things as well, is, I think, a real worthy connection to reach out and make. So, take advantage of your community centers and, groups of friends. I just happen to know, a wonderful guy that turned me onto it, invited me into his personal circle of friends. And I'm so grateful that he did. Starting to sprinkle a little bit, but and nutrition. Get your nutrition right. Stop eating junk food. You don't just eat what you want. You eat to live. You don't live to eat. God gave us all of this wonderful nutrition and food, and ways that we can honor our bodies and take care of ourselves. And we can, we can enhance our health and our aging. I hate that word. But we can enhance it with nutrition. Don't eat 3 meals a day. I'm an OMAD person, a 1 meal a day. And what it does is it gives my body time to digest everything. Plus, when you get older and you're not as, your system slow down a little bit, you don't need as much food. A lot of people use food as an emotional crutch, and sometimes it's the only thing that makes you feel good. But then you're spiking your insulin. Oh my goodness. And then before you know it, you're diabetic, and you have that whole scenario to take care of. And as I told you before, I've been on a GLP-1 journey. I take retatrutide. I sell retatrutide. That's what I do for a living. And but before I got on that, I was 296 pounds. I had let myself go through my sorrow, through what I talked about with my mother, just letting go of life, saying, well, this is it. It's all over with. And I felt fat, and I felt ugly, and I felt unloved, and I felt unhealthy. And then somebody turned me on to GLPs, and I got on that, and it completely changed my life. And I suggest that, my strength has returned. I feel like my youth has returned. I feel better than I have in many, many years. And I feel that, you're never too old to start that health journey. And even if you do what I did, and I got a pair of 1 pound weights for each arm, and you can do them seated, you can do exercises. And I also got a pair of exercise bands. Those are really neat. Just pull the kind that you pull apart. They're called resistance bands. I don't use the tube ones. I have in the past, but I prefer the bands, and normally you can get 3. I got 3 of them for $6.95, a light, a medium, and a strong. But it's something easy you can do. You can take 5-10 minutes to sit down and do a couple exercises, and voila, you're done. And then I have a little home stair step machine, and I use that, and that is really nice. I'm going to put this on pause and move under the porch because it's starting to drizzle. I'm going to finish up real quick. Sorry about the moving around. Moving around. I just got to be, flexible in doing this. And I'm not going to be editing it or anything like that, but just thank you for sticking around. So, back to our subject. I really feel like people, when they get older, they feel that life is coming to an end. Who cares? I'm just going to do whatever I want and screw it. Well, I mean, that's okay if you're ready to go, but I'm not ready to go. I'm not going to go for a long time. I'm 65. I had a great grandmother who lived to be 105 years old. I plan on walking and talking and being a active person for as long as I can. Plus, I'm hoping they come up with some kind of longevity peptide or science that's going to make me live forever. Think about that. So, but yes, knowledge, dealing with your ish, your kimchi, whatever you want to call it. Deal with it. Get some exercise. Straighten out your nutrition. Super important. And that's kind of all I have today. And I hope that my words, have helped. And just so you know that, part of my healing journey for my health has been nutrition and supplementation. And pardon me, and supplementation. And I really feel like, we're all of us are so from the icky food out on the market right now that we really don't get enough nutrition, that it's the food that we're eating it's not like it was before where you grew it. If you look, and I don't know if you can see it, but I grow. Look at my tomatoes. Yay, I have so many tomatoes coming up. But I try to grow as much food as I can. I have a very small porch here and a very small area to work with, but I do the best I can. And it's just like the tomatoes you buy in the store versus the ones that I grow are just like, it's like night and day. No longer are foods grown. They're grown for profit. They're grown for profit. And once you learn, I pay a little more. I buy organic. Once you learn how to spot that, you're going to find that your food is so much better. And I try to eat as much whole food and real food as possible. I don't eat Franken food. I really don't. I don't have no desire to do that to my body anymore. It tastes good. Yes. Oh God. Pizza. Ooh, and and I'm not saying that I don't ever do that. Sometimes I'll eat a piece of pizza or, whatever, because I just want it. So I feel like it's better sometimes to just have a little bit of what you want instead of eating it all the time or as your staple, And so, body, soul, and mind, super important. And I hope that, and I pray that, this talk will do you some good and encourage you to examine what are you doing to help yourself age well, to mature well.